Here are the 5 dynasty moves that you need to keep track of that came and went in free agency. And Bloom, we didn't get to talk about them enough. We're chatty blankety blankers. Sorry, Joe. But there's been a lot of moves that maybe were under the radar for fantasy GMs out there, dynasty players specifically. And we'll start with Dante Foreman and why you need to keep track of him.
Yeah, we're going to watch what happens with Nick Chubb, and the world is a better place when Nick Chubb is running people over and making fantasy players happy. The timeline of his injury, the nature of his injury, we'll see. It was early in the season, but it was also an ACL plus, and he's also had a history of knee injuries. So it would make sense for the Browns. If you're the Browns, you care a lot more about Dante Foreman in December and hopefully January, maybe even February, than you do about Nick Chubb in September. So it would make sense for Dante Foreman to do the Kareem Hunt plus role. And especially if you go into a draft or in best ball drafts, hey, if Dante Foreman gives you a few weeks in September, that justifies the last round pick that he costs. And we saw last year going into the season, he was a healthy scratch. So the Bears signed him, and the Bears thought, well, we don't even really need him. And then once he got on the field, he showed, yeah, you do need me. Yes. And he had a 3-touchdown week. I think it wasn't even with Justin Fields out there. So Foreman showed that he can still play. He was one of the original guys to show us that Achilles tears are not the death knell for running backs that they used to be. And Nick Chubb has shown us catastrophic knee injuries are not a death knell. But I think that the Browns, with this Dante Foreman signing, are showing us they're going to be conservative as they should with Chubb, which means Foreman can have value at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and what's funny is, Bloom, I'm stuck in the 90s. You know this.
Sure.
I always used to make fun of the guys stuck in the 80s. But anyway, now I'm that old guy. But I think back to the 90s. What would Dante Foreman be in old
Oh,
NFL? Some team would
oh,
start him. They'd use him up. He'd probably have 3 or 4,000 yard seasons and then be done for his career.
right.
So it's like, it's so odd today that a talented back like Dante Foreman, it's like, yeah, we'll get to him eventually.
Yeah, and I think that what we'll watch, I'm thinking of Audric Estime. How do these running backs fit in the NFL? The 2 down running backs, because as you said, Cease, there was a time that those guys were a big asset, and a lot of talk has been towards the pendulum swinging back because defenses are lighter and faster to limit the passing game. Well, then you run over them. And Dante Foreman can do a good job of that.
Yeah, he can definitely do that, and that's what he'll do well. Let's talk about Zamir White. Got a couple of backs, couple of receivers, and a rugby player to get to, but the Zamir White situation, another one, fantasy GMs might have flown under the radar, or well, maybe it's something they need to keep tabs on.
Yeah, and what we need to look at here is the lack of moves or the caliber of moves, because we saw them the Raiders re-sign Amir Abdullah. Okay, he's going to play some passing downs. And then, well, what's the other move going to be? Are they going to draft a running back? Are they going to sign a running back? Well, they signed a running back, but it was Alexander Madison. And there are moments when you're a dynasty fantasy player that are a sigh of relief. And I think when Alexander Madison is your competition for carries, then that means you're very bullish on Zamir White. Speaking of running people over, the other thing that you like about Zamir White is that Antonio Pierce was retained as the head coach. And we saw at the end of the year, they are going to give Zamir White as much work as he can handle. And he can handle like country strong, Cease. Did you get to see the Zamir White talking about country life and being country strong and
Oh
all the
yeah.
horses and animals and stuff? So you know that Zamir White is going to be ready for that. And again, this is one of those cases, as you described, Cease, if they use up Zamir White on his rookie contract, it's a hard business for running backs, but they have every incentive to do that. It fits in the way that they want to try to keep games close and win games. And I would have expected on the news that Alexander Madison is the only real competition for White. I would have expected his ADP to jump up 2 or 3 rounds. It hasn't. So I think you're looking at a great value here, and you're looking at somebody that will probably be getting 20 plus touches out of the gate.
Right. And then I look at the quarterback situation. I go, okay, Minshew is going to make the offense viable. He's going to move
Right.
the ball. You're not going to just be able to stack the line and stuff the run. Or if you get a rookie in there, let's say they get Michael Penix or something. All right. Well, that's another significant player that can absolutely sling it. And then well, you're going to lean on that ground
Yeah.
game. You're going to lean with a younger quarterback. Minshew's going to open things up because he's wild. And then a rookie potentially in Las Vegas, almost said Oakland, a rookie in Las Vegas is going to mean we're going to lean on the ground game. So either way, it's a win-win for a guy like Zamir White.
And it is the identity of this team. Antonio Pierce has already shown us this. It is going to be the identity of this team to lead with a power running game, lead with Zamir White, and having Zamir White be one of those running backs like he showed last year, that it's not so much the first quarter carries, it's the fourth quarter carries, as long as they can keep the game close. And remember, this is a team that has Max Crosby. This is a team that, hopefully Tyree Wilson can really start to pan out for them. They can have a defense that is not going to be a pushover, and they can be a tough out, as you see covering the Broncos. The Raiders, they're not a laughing stock. They're a competitive team.
With Antonio Pierce, certainly they will not be a laughing stock. As we move to the wide receivers, watch what they do, not what they say. And then, especially from a dynasty angle, Bloom, we're always waiting for guys like Jalen Tolbert to get an opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, the opportunity has a come a knocking for Tolbert. How does he answer this year?
The arrow is pointing up here. Remember that this was not quite a CJ Stroud, Tank Dell hand-picked situation, but Dak Prescott had a lot of really good things to say about Jalen Tolbert when the Cowboys drafted him in the third round 2 years ago. His rookie year was a disaster. I don't know if he would have made the team if he was a 6th or 7th round pick. Probably he made the team because he was a third round pick. But his second year, last year, was everything you're looking for. The arrow pointing up coming out of his second year before the Cowboys released Michael Gallup, and that's the move, the corresponding move here during free agency. He was already overtaking Gallup in snaps. So you see the arrow pointing up already. He made a big leap. I was asking Marcus Mosier, Locked On Cowboys, great friend of the show, great dude. What does he think that Tolbert can make a third-year leap? He said he was the most improved player in training camp last year. Now, again, when you're coming off of a disappointing rookie year, it's easy to be most improved, but you see that it's starting to click for him. Then the other question here is, who exactly is going to be the Cowboys? Ezekiel Elliott, really? Who's going to be the Cowboys running back? This is not going to be an offense defined by the running game anymore. As we saw this coming out of the bye last year, Dak Prescott was an elite fantasy quarterback after the bye. Again, Mike McCarthy? Really? Brian Schottenheimer? Here's our wizards that are going to use the bye week to get everything aligned in the offense? Yes, that's what happened last year. Now you see the lack of investment in the backfield. That tells me that this is still a Dak Prescott-centric offense, even though they won't invest in Prescott. And we saw it last year, even while CeeDee Lamb was rampaging through fantasy leagues and now is the on average first wide receiver drafted in fantasy leagues, most weeks you still would get a big week additionally out of Brandon Cooks or Michael Gallup, or you would see some big plays to Jake Ferguson. So this was a pass offense that can make CeeDee Lamb the most valuable wide receiver in fantasy football and increase the value of at least one or two other targets on a weekly basis. This year, one of those targets is likely to be Jalen Tolbert.
Yeah, it's all going to be about Dak, and Jerry's not going to make him available. I know people have said just wait and maybe get Dak Prescott via trade. Like, no, they are going to make it all about Dak, and that's good for a guy like Jalen Tolbert. Again, as you say, Dak kind of supporting him, and now it's time for Tolbert to prove Dak right. I believe that he can and will do that. And you ask who's going to be in the backfield, Boom? There's a Memphis kid, one of my favorite sleepers in this draft, Blake Watson, Memphis running back.
Yes.
You got to get him. So, you let one go, now you get one back. If you pick up, what's Watson going to be, like a 6th round pick, something like that? So, yeah, I would applaud that sort of move. But again, it's a rookie running back. It's got to pass protect for sure. And the keys are there. The keys are there for Dak and Dak only.
Yeah. And hey, Rico Dowdle was one of your last round picks too. They brought him back. That was an under the radar move. And sometimes we project rookie running backs. They might get Jonathan Brooks in the second round. And from a fantasy standpoint, that's outstanding for Jonathan Brooks, right? If Jonathan Brooks goes in the second round, the Texas running back coming back off an ACL tear, and probably the best without the ACL tear, clearly, I would say the number one prospect in this class. The ACL tear muddies the water a little bit on how the draft board is going to shake out. But if Jonathan Brooks gets drafted in the late second round to the Cowboys, then everybody will say, okay, Brooks is the guy we're going after. He gets into the first round of dynasty rookie drafts, etc. And everyone's going to forget about Rico Dowdle. Well, number one, a full recovery or being full speed to begin the season is not a given for Brooks. And even if it's not Brooks, rookies integrating into the offense, rookies being ready for the responsibilities, rookies staying healthy. These things are all far from a given. So there's a lot of ways that Rico Dowdle can have fantasy value just for showing up and doing what he did last year.
Hey, you're there, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Curtis Samuel's still kicking it, and always a player that we're excited to see more from. And Curtis Samuel could be a guy that Dynasty GMs get a little more than they maybe even thought or have been waiting for.
Yeah, and Joe Brady is the guy who can get more out of him, right? I would say he had his best season, the season that got him paid, with Joe Brady in Carolina. And what we saw from Curtis Samuel, in addition to being used in the backfield, which Joe Brady was willing to do in Carolina, he also has vertical speed. And this is something that is needed. Deontay Hardy didn't really have the effect on the offense that they had hoped. Gabe Davis took his downfield game to Jacksonville. So now you have Curtis Samuel, but you have Samuel potentially used in a very creative way in the offense. You have him as a big play receiver, and then you have him with an offensive coordinator that knows how to get the most out of his talents. So and Josh Allen, by the way. And he has a quarterback who maximizes the value of the pieces around him. So this is one. Matt Harmon was on the couch last week. He was quoted. See, so I don't know if you got to see it. He was actually quoted in um, NewYorkUpdate.com, legit media. I don't know if there's such a thing anymore. As a wide
There never
receiver
has
guru,
been.
right. He's a wide receiver guru. Our nephew Matt Harmon, and he was just quoted saying, "I'm alive. I'm excited. This is exciting. Curtis Samuel in Buffalo. This is exciting." And I don't think the fantasy community has picked up on how excited they should be about Curtis Samuel. And you have this issue with Stephon Diggs. I think it's 0.0001% that Diggs could get traded or not be on the Bills, but it's not quite zero. Things aren't exactly wonderful there. Remember, Diggs' role in the offense shrunk considerably once Joe Brady took over that offense. Now you have a wide receiver that Brady handpicked in a good offense and one that we should be expecting more from in fantasy this year.
Well, I'll tell you off air more stuff, but they're doing everything behind the scenes to get Josh Allen right. I honestly think the moves are there so that Allen stops playing hero ball. But I do know this, Bloom. Allen was very upset over the Ken Dorsey thing, like taking it personally. So, kind of working through that mentality, getting the most out of him. And if not, we know that we constantly see quarterback versus coach.
Yeah.
And Sean McDermott should have been fired after this year. That's my opinion. I was happy when he took over for Rex Ryan. Plenty of people I talk around that team were happy that it was much different than when Rex Ryan was there with the banker's hours. But with McDermott, it's like you either have to make this work or they're going to get rid of you because they're not getting rid of Josh Allen. But they are doing everything behind the scenes to make sure that Allen mentally is comfortable, especially after the Dorsey thing last year really rattled him.
Yeah, and this is one of those situations, we saw during the Ben Roethlisberger years in Pittsburgh, Cease. First he got to choose the offensive coordinator, basically.
Right.
There was that small time there where Todd Haley, gosh, how long
Todd
has it been since
Haley,
that?
private time between two coaches.
How long has it been since we said that name?
I
But
know.
Todd Haley did actually, for a little bit, help Ben become a take what the defense gives you kind of passer, just for a little bit. But otherwise, the Steelers' attitude basically was, well, you can pick the offensive coordinator, and then once you're to that point in your career where you're emeritus, you are the offensive coordinator, basically. And we saw how that went. It didn't go well. So you don't want to give the quarterback too much power in these decisions, because I think it just shows that this is one of those situations where you want the dominant force in the locker room to be the head coach, not because they rule with an iron fist, but because that's how you secure buy-in. That's how you know everybody's pulling in the same direction and doing their job. And I think you're right, Cease, that, well, what happens whenever you fall short of lofty expectations? It creates frustration, it creates finger pointing, and we'll see if this can be the year that they can exercise the demons.
Yeah, let's repeat everything and do it all over again. It'll be different, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then help me out with the rugby player's name that the Kansas City Chiefs, by the way,
Yes.
NFL, stop letting Kansas City get all these flipping guys. I so wish I could cuss. I'm sorry, Joe. I work in profanity like an artist works in oils and clays, but it's like anytime because the Broncos were looking at this rugby guy, right?
Yeah,
So it's like, all right, that'd be interesting, whatever. Like, hey, off-season story. And then the Chiefs swoop in and get it.
yeah,
And it's like, oh my God, everybody that can play. It's like, hey, this guy, and the Chiefs get him. Like, haven't we figured out, like,
right,
stop letting the Chiefs get players? And well, especially on that offense, Bloom.
right.
And rugby is fun to watch. Fun,
Yeah,
fun, 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 fun to watch. Um, well, let's talk about it
yeah.
because that's
Lewis.
something Dynasty GM should be paying attention to.
Oh yeah, he should be on a roster in every dynasty league now. Lewis Rees-Zammit from Wales, and Wales is like the cradle of rugby. Like it's rugby is they're all about rugby, and he is an international player pathway. Oh, by the way, for your dynasty leagues, you need to know in your rookie drafts are the free agents are players not on any of your dynasty rosters. Are they also in the pool? Are NFL free agents? He's not truly a rookie, but so work that out, dynasty commissioners, before you have your rookie draft, because he should be drafted, he should be added. And I think that we need to understand that this guy has some special abilities. Matt Batanti, draft daddy, offensive line guru, all around great guy.
The
We'll be back on
king.
the couch. The king, yeah. He'll be back on the couch after the draft. We'll be talking offensive line and all kinds of other stuff. He was cluing us behind the scenes at Football Guides into this months ago, and I'm getting a lot of this information from him. So Rees-Zammit is 6'3", 215, 22, 23 years old. They have reportedly clocked him at 24 miles an hour, faster than
God
Tyreek Hill.
bless America. Holy crap.
Yeah, faster than Tyreek Hill, but he's a rugby player. Okay, so guess what? He also knows how to do: change direction, run through contact. He has vision. Okay, he has classic running back skills and abilities. This is a player also who, as a rugby player, had already risen to like international all-star team. So at 22, 23 years old, he was already, Batanti said, one of the top 100 rugby players in the world at this early part of his career. So this is a player that we need to take note of. Now, they've already listed him as a running back wide receiver. Okay, now I'm even more interested. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
he can be what Kadarius Toney hasn't been for this team. But also we have to get into the kickoff rules. So the kickoff rules have changed. If you do return yardage leagues, you better be aware of this, because the kickoff rules have changed where there's a lot more likelihood that the ball will be in play. And Eric Galco, I retweeted this. If you're not following Eric Galco, Shrine Game, all kinds of draft personnel, all kinds of goodness from Eric Galco. You need to know him. You need to know his name. This kickoff arrangement came from the XFL, and he explained how it's going to change what we understand kickoffs, what matters. And because the players are all going to line up around, I guess, like the 30, 35 yard line on the return side of the field within 10 yards of each other, instead of speed being the key, the premium among returners, it's going to be vision. It's going to be running back types. And you're
Mm-hmm.
going to see a lot more big plays. You're going to see a lot more big returns, because if you can navigate your way through those small crevices that are opening and closing in that scrum, there's your rugby term,
Right.
then you got a lot of green grass after that. So Rees-Zammit has exactly the skill set that you're looking for in a returner right now. So we
Chiefs
also,
playing on a short field. Way to go, everybody. Way to go,
yeah,
NFL. Why do the
right.
Chiefs have a dynasty? We can't stop the Chiefs. You keep letting them get the players like this.
Right, right. Another thing that Matt Patanti points out that I think is important is that because rugby is a big time sport. Rugby is absolutely got a huge following. He's already played in 70, 80,000 seat stadiums in front of rabid fans. He's already become one of the top players in his sport in the world. So, see, what are one of the questions we always hear about at this time about draft players? Is he a professional? Is he going to put in the work? Does he understand what it takes? Well, we already say yes about this guy, and you should be saying yes to him in your dynasty league.
Andy Reid saying, excellent.
Yeah.
Right?
More mac
He's
and
getting
cheese.
ready. Yep, he's getting ready. He'll design something. He'll throw it together. Yeah, Bloom, that's some dynasty under the radar. Like so much happened in free
Yeah.
agency. was a wild year, man. Was it good for you too?
Always good. And then in 3 weeks, the draft's going to happen. So we're going to have that. And you got your RSP to keep you calm, hug it at night, fall asleep with it in your arm, and learn everything you can from that. And all the other great products out there. Again, and Dane Brugler, the Beast is going to be coming out next week. Make sure that you've got that too. And what we have is peak. Cease, I think we're at peak information in football. Now, you still have to have a filter. Not all of it is valuable information, but that's what we're here for. That's what a lot of other people are here for, to help you guide through this ocean of information. But if you want to be an informed football fan, an informed fantasy player, there has never been a better time to be doing this.
Yes, that's right. So check us out, footballguys.com. We got our free rookie draft guide. It's available to download, footballguys.com. Rookie scouting portfolio, must have. And Dane Brugler, who I believe is the best draft analyst on the planet.
Yeah.
So the Beast is a must read for sure. And what's funny, Bloom, is I was talking with an NFL super high up person. And I brought up, we're going over the draft, right? And I brought up the name Dane Brugler, of course, right? You need to know this guy. And then I brought up the name Matt Waldman, and this guy goes, "Oh yeah, I know."
Yeah.
So in NFL luminaries, we're talking general managers and above,
right?
Read the RSP. Guess what you need to be doing?
Yeah, put you on a level playing field with NFL luminaries. That's what Matt Waldman allows you to do.
Yep. He's Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on Twitter at Sigmund Bloom. I am at Cecil Lammy saying thanks for watching, everyone. We appreciate you. Do those YouTube things, like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And we thank you very much. We are The Audible. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.